something stopped, so let me know. All right, so today I titled this presentation, Make More with Your Images. I don't have to sell you guys on how important images are in selling a home. Everything is online and everybody looks at reviews these days, and if you have good photos, you're going to make more money, plain and simple. And the better photos you have, the more money you're going to make. It's going to want them to go see that listing. Okay? So again, my name is Cameron Aiken. The company that I run is Hip Pixel Photography. All right, so let's check out our first slide. Rules for this presentation. You guys are in trouble. Number one, stop me if I'm going too fast. The last thing I want to do is ramble on and you kind of get lost and say, oh, stop. Slow down. Don't forget to ask questions. If I'm not going deep enough, if I'm kind of glossing over something and you want some more, feel free, please stop and ask a question. If I'm getting too technical, that's okay too. Just like, okay, this is way over my head, can you slow down? That'd be great. And then I'm going to be here about 30 to 45 minutes afterwards. I'm going to do some headshots later on today. And so if you want to come up and ask me specifically, say, hey, I brought my camera. I want to know, how do I do the thing that you were talking about? You can show it to me, or I can show you a YouTube video, or point you in the right direction, or help you in any way I can, so I'll be afterwards. You can always text, email, or call me in the future. And here's my number if you want to jot that down. This is I didn't have a handout. The program that I'm using, it was too long. It was 20 megabytes. But this is my phone number here, and this is my email. Feel free to call, text, email. I'm always good about getting back. I always have my phone on with me, so if you need anything, just holler. And I'll leave that up there for a couple of seconds so you can add that to your contact list if you would like. Okay, we good? Awesome. Okay. All right. Let's see here. All right, what sells in real estate? What is going to make you more money? I'm going to tell you. It's a very simple answer. It's a wide-angle lens. And I know a lot of you probably already know that, but when a person, here I'll show you this image. When a person sees an image, if it's wide, it feels as if you're in the room. You're standing in the room. Okay? It gives them a three-dimensional almost experience. If you have a telephoto lens, or if you have a lens that's zoomed in, it's like you're standing in a corner, right? It's not very inviting. So the wider you can get, the more money you're going to make. Okay? Now that sounds simple, but I cannot overstate that enough. So you can obviously see from this image, you can see just about everything. It's a very open feeling. Okay? All right. So what is wide? Well, technically, anything that's a 35 millimeter lens or wider, everybody in here has a phone, right? Everybody take your phone out right now, and I want you to open up your photo application, okay? So everybody's got their phone out. And under the photo, make sure you're in photo, not video, because that changes, okay? So everybody make sure you're going to act like you're taking a photo. Now look on the back of your screen. Now kind of pan around the room. That's 35 millimeters. Okay, now let's say you were going to list this at, now, wait, stop. I see some people doing this. This is the cardinal sin of real estate photography. Don't take photos like this. Because if I'm going to try and take a photo of a house, I've just cut off 2/3 of the image. So never ever take photos like this from an iPhone. You always want to be in landscape or horizontal mode. Okay? So but look around the room, and you can see that's 35 millimeters. Okay? Now, if you were going to, you can put your phone down if you want. If you were going to list this room right here, do you think that you could do a good job with the 35 millimeters that you just saw on the back of your camera? Would you be able to tell the whole story, even if you were in the corner? Let's say you were back over here. Do you think 35 millimeters is wide enough? Probably not. Okay? Our field of view, our human eye, is like 24 or something in that range. So ideally, for real estate, we really want the 16, and even 24 is really not wide enough. We want like 16 to like 18 or 19 is best. Okay, so we want super wide. That's really going to show it off. And we talked about the iPhone. That's only 35 millimeters. Now, some people say, well, I can go to the store and I can buy an attachment for an iPhone that's going to make it wider. Yes, you can. But generally, it's going to be bad for two reasons. Number one, is it distorts the image a lot, like a fisheye. Have you guys ever seen a fisheye where everything looks like a circle? Okay, so that's bad. When a person sees your listing with edges like that, they're saying, okay, he's trying to lie to me. She's trying to lie to me. She's making this room look bigger than it actually is. I don't want to work with this person. She's trying to deceive me, or he's trying to deceive me. Okay, so that's bad. Number two, the edges of the image are really fuzzy. Okay, because generally these are cheap and they're not made well. Okay, so this is not a good option. Don't do this.
Can I just say something?
Yeah, absolutely.
What he's not doing is promoting an iPhone. In fact, it's the opposite.
Yes.
Trying to get across today that iPhone is probably the worst thing to take a picture with. But more importantly, the worst thing you could show a seller that you're taking a picture with. I know if Jackie Barton's here, she lost the listing because she wasn't an iPhone, it was one of those flat cameras that looked like an iPhone.
It's called a point and shoot. The little bitty thin camera.
I think everyone's had one or got one.
Yeah.
And she lost the listing because they thought it was an iPhone. They didn't say anything at the time, but they thought, man, you're selling my house and you're using an iPhone. So I think there's a smoke and mirrors and a concept we have to understand that we can't use these, A, because they're not doing the job exactly right, but most important, I think, is we just look like we're not knowing what we're doing.
It's not very professional.
No.
Yeah, you're not.
Are you going to give us kind of what you think we should?
Absolutely, yeah. And in fact, that's my next slide right now. So if you are going to have, and first of all, raise your hand. How many of you have like a camera, like a serious camera that you use for real estate? Okay, so about maybe a little more than half, okay? And then some of us are using our iPhones, and maybe we can transition to a nicer camera, okay?
Can I ask you a question? This
Yeah.
When you say iPhone, is that the same thing as saying iPad? If we use an iPad?
Actually, an iPad is worse than an iPhone, and the reason why is because the camera in the back of the iPad is cheaper because people don't generally take as many photos, and so the iPads actually have worse image quality than the iPhone. The iPhone's actually better. Okay. So yeah, the iPad is not good. We don't want to use that. In fact, I would use an iPhone over an iPad, but still don't use an iPhone if you can. DSLR. Now this right here, this is a DSLR. Now this is a big one. This is what I use for professional. Can I show them yours really quick? This is also a DSLR. It's a little smaller, but this is great. Okay, if you can get something kind of like this is awesome. But there's something that you can also get. So this is called a Canon 5D Mark III. You don't have to write that down. But this is the lens that I use. That's this right here, and you can definitely come up and look at it. And this is the kind of the lens. This is the camera that he has, which is awesome. It's great. So that's a DSLR. That's a kind of a big camera that professionals use. Okay. Now there's something newer on the market, and it's called a mirrorless camera. Now what is a mirrorless camera? Well, it's generally smaller. Okay, so the body is quite a bit smaller. It has interchangeable lenses, which is great because that's what you want. You want a lens just for real estate reasons. Okay, like if I wanted to take a portrait and maybe a senior picture, I wouldn't use the same lens that I use to shoot the house. Right, so we're gonna have a specific lens for a specific job. So it's cheaper, lighter, and smaller. And the reason why it's called mirrorless is because back in the olden day there was actually a mirror. In fact, if I took this off right now, I'll show you. I'm going to take this lens off, and inside there's a mirror. See that? Right? So that mirror takes up a lot of space, makes it bigger, heavier, more expensive, more moving parts. That's why the mirrorless is so great, because it's small, light, and cheap, and it takes great photos. Okay? So I'll give you a specific model that if I was going to buy a new camera today, I'll tell you exactly what I would get. Okay? So let's talk about the advantages of having a big camera like what I have and what he has. The best image quality, hands down. You're going to get the absolute best clarity from a big camera. Okay? Detail. It's super wide. This is 15 millimeters. You're going to get really wide. So it makes you more money, essentially. And then lastly, you may already own one. So some of you guys may have a digital Rebel, like in your house, and all you need to do is buy a lens to match the camera so that you can take better real estate photography. So that's a plus, right? Big disadvantages though. Number one, super expensive. Just this combination here, this is a $3,000 camera and a $1,200 lens. You know, I mean, with everything, it's like close to 4,000 bucks. That's crazy. The only person who's going to have this is a professional photographer. Okay? The other thing is it's heavy. I mean, you guys, if you want to pick this up, feel how heavy that is. It's 4 pounds. Like, who wants to lug that thing around all day? No. Yeah, you don't want to lug it around. It's heavy. Also, it's complex. The more professional you get, the harder it is to use. Okay? So, kind of big disadvantages there. So the mirrorless cameras, why they're so awesome is, as I said before, the price. So the camera that I'm going to show you, the body, is 600 bucks, okay, which is really cheap for a body. It's lighter, pound, a little over a pound, pound and a half, and then they're great for video. So on the inside of the camera, it has something called image stabilization. So if you want to take a video of the house, which would get you even more money, man, this new camera, it's got image stabilization in the camera. So it keeps the picture steady while you're taking video. And then of course you can change the lenses out. Okay? So my recommendation for you guys is this camera here. It's called the Olympus, Olympus. OM/DM5. Now this is just the body. This is not the lens that I would have you buy. I'm just talking about the body. Okay?
How many millimeters is it?
So this has no millimeters. This is just the body.
Okay.
Okay? So I'm going to show you in a second the lens that I would put on this to get the best photos. Okay? So the Olympus OM/DM5. Now, what lens? This guy right here. This is the Olympus 9-18, okay? And the cool thing about this one is it's really sharp. In other words, it gives you really clear photos. It's not terribly expensive. It's $500, and it's sharp. It's wide. It's very wide, 9 to 18 millimeters. Now, I want to show you something that I found. He came in today with his camera. If you have a digital Rebel, how many of you guys have a digital Rebel, like a Canon? It's the Canon entry-level DSLR. Does anybody in here have one? So 1, 2, 3,
It's that where
4.
it's not a lens, it just, is that?
That's a point and shoot. I think what you're talking about.
Mine's like a nice one, is that what it is, kind of like?
Yeah, that's the same thing though. Same thing, okay? So what he has is a Canon. Now write this down because if you have a digital Rebel, this is what you want. Okay? It's a Canon 10 to 18 millimeter. 10 to 18. If you own a digital Rebel, this is 250 bucks.
But this is just lens.
This is just the lens, but for $250, you can get amazing photos for next to nothing. I mean, in the photography world, 250 bucks, that's cheap. Okay, and this is a great lens.
And that goes on what camera?
Only Canons. Only Canon digital Rebels. And the 62 better. Yeah. So if you've got one of those, you'd be a fool not to buy this lens, because this is awesome.
Yeah, how many times have you opened the closet, walked back in the closet just to get a picture of the room, or you've gone somewhere outside? A wide angle, he's going to show you some pictures, but a wide angle lens, even if it's a small wide angle, it'd be amazing what the pictures do. And it doesn't make it a fish eye.
Fish eye.
It isn't.
Yeah.
Okay, if we don't have that.
If you don't have anything, this is what I would buy. I would buy the.
You would still buy what?
I would still buy the Olympus. And the reason, and the advantage over the Olympus is it's cheap, and it takes great photos. I mean, the quality is awesome. Okay. So.
And if you buy it for real estate, you can write a lot.
That's true. Absolutely. Okay, let's transition and talk about how to actually take a better photo. Okay? All right, number one, when you have a wide-angle lens, lines become a big problem because if they're not straight, like look at this photo here. I didn't take this photo. But look at these lines. Okay, I put them on there. You can see how it's tilted off to the left. Also, another thing that they did is they used flash. And the reason why I know that is because if you look at the ceiling fan, on the other side of the ceiling fan, you see that the shadow? What you're trying to do is you're trying to take a little flash on the top of your camera that big and light up the whole room. It's not going to happen. You want to use what's called ambient light. You want to turn all the lights on in the house, all the lights, turn them all on, and you want to use the light that's existing in the room to light up the room because it's going to look so much better, okay?
Now, when we did the house,
Mhm.
we, he said, open all the blinds, everything. Let's get as much
As much light as possible.
lights on, blinds.
Everything. Yep. All right. Cool. So I want to take a look at this. Look at these vertical lines. You see how everything is perfectly lined up? Somebody really took their time and did a great job getting all those lines perfectly lined up, okay? Obviously, it's a beautiful home. That kind of helps too. So that's really important. Let's talk about exposure. Now, exposure, it's basically how light or how dark the image is, okay? So I want you to take a look at this room. If I took this picture and I just had it for myself to look at, I would say it's fine, but for real estate versions, it's just way too dark, okay? So we want to lighten that up. So I'm going to show you how to change the settings. In general, it's better to have an image slightly brighter than darker. Now, every camera on the planet has something. I'll show you what it is. So we'll take a look at this room. Okay, it's got a lot of windows, a lot of light streaming in, and in general, we call this photo overexposed. It's brighter than what the camera wants. So we're going to intentionally make the image too bright, just a little bit. Okay, because bright equals happy, and dark equals sad. And so when somebody, that's just the human psyche, okay? So when you look at listings on the internet, you want all of your image to be a little bit too bright, just a little bit too bright because it's going to make it look happy, okay? So in general, do that. Now, how you adjust the exposures on your camera? You're going to use this dial. Now, how many of you guys have seen this on the top of your camera? Okay, good.
No idea what any of
So basically, I'm going to show you. This green dot here, this is where almost everybody keeps their camera, on the green dot. And the reason why is because it's auto, and that's bad. And the reason why is because the camera chooses everything. It chooses white balance, exposure, file size, it does everything. And generally what you get from the camera is not what you want. You want to be in control of the camera, not the camera in control of the pictures, okay? So, what I want you to do is I want you to stay over here on this side where it says aperture priority, okay? And I've got a little arrow pointing to the AV. Put your camera on AV and just leave it there for real estate reasons, okay? Just put it on AV. Now I'm going to show you how that's going to benefit you in a moment. Now what that means, and I don't want to get too technical, and you don't have to totally understand this, but on the inside of your lens is something called an iris or an aperture. And it goes like this, okay? Aperture priority says you're in control of the aperture and the camera does everything else for you, okay? So it gets to decide all the other stuff, which is all you want, okay? So I'm going to show you how to do this. What you're going to do is there's a wheel. In fact, how many of you guys never knew what that wheel was for? You know it's there, but you don't know what it does. That's okay. This little wheel right here, this is how you're going to change the exposure. So that little wheel, you're gonna turn it to the left, and you're gonna turn it to the right, and you're gonna change how bright and how dark the image is with that wheel. But it only works on AV. Okay? So I'm going to show you how to use it. There's something on your camera called an exposure meter, and it looks like this. Okay? Where is it? It's in the viewfinder. So when you look in the camera to take the photo, at the bottom of the photo is the exposure meter. Okay? What does it do? It's a little graph, and it says from 0 is perfectly exposed. The camera's got it perfectly exposed, right? If you go to +3, the image is like white. It's like completely white, right? It's too bright. You can't see anything. It just looks like a white sheet, a bed sheet. On the opposite end, you have -3. It means the image is totally black. You can't see anything at all. It just looks like the camera's not even turned on, right? Well, where do we want to put that tick mark? Well, if it was perfectly exposed, it would be at 0. That's where the camera wants to put it. It wants to put it on 0. But what I'm telling you is that you want it to be slightly overexposed. You want it to the right of that 0 by 1 or 2 little tick marks. What that's going to do is it's going to slightly overexpose the image, and it's going to make it look happy. Okay? It's going to be bright, okay? Which is going to make people want to go see that house. Okay? And I know I'm getting really technical, and I'm sorry, but there's a little bit of this that you guys just got to know. Okay? All right. So that's exposure. Now let's talk about the specific camera settings. And you don't have to understand all of this, you just have to know it. Like, you just have to memorize it. I want every single photo that you take for real estate versions or reasons to be at f8. Okay? Now, this lens right here, this goes from f2.8, which you don't need to know, to f16. So it does all that in between. At f8, this lens sings. It's like if you had a Stradivarius violin, okay? The reason why those are so amazing is because the glue that they used. And they just, when you have a great violinist play it, it just like vibrates and it just sings, right? Well, guess what? Every single lens ever made at f8 is the best it can be. You're going to get the best detail and the best sharpness and contrast.
But can you explain what the f-stop, what
Yeah.
it controls?
Right, exactly. So on every camera, here's the sticky part. On every single camera, to control the aperture, it's going to be a wheel. Now, on your camera, the wheel might be in front up here. It might be on top. It might be in the back. So you're going to have to do a little bit of legwork, and you can come to me and you can show me, and I can say, okay, this is where you're going to control the f-stop. Okay? But if you're on A, if you've got it set to A, chances are that wheel is going to be on the back or on the top, and when you click it, it's going to go to F8. Okay? So you got to put it on F8. You can look through the viewfinder or you can look on top, but it has to say F8. Okay? Now, number 2. ISO. Okay? You got to talk about ISO. You don't need to know what it is. It's just film speed. Like back in the olden days when we used film, there was like 100 film, 400 film, 800 film. It's how sensitive the camera is to light. You always want it to be the lowest number possible. So on my camera, it's 100. That's the lowest my camera will go, is 100. And your camera is probably 100 or 200. But you want it to be the lowest, and you're just going to leave it on there. Just set it and forget it, like that rotisserie chicken guy. Remember that? Yeah. So f-stop at f8, ISO at 100, and then since you're in aperture, since you've got it set to the A dial, the camera's going to decide the shutter speed. Okay? Now, I'm going to tell you right now, almost all of the photos that you're going to take are going to be really long exposures. Okay? I'm talking about a second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds exposures. So if you're going to try and hand hold this, it's not going to work. You're not going to get good images when you hand hold, because what happens is when you click that shutter, the aperture in the lens is so small, there's not very much light coming in. It's good light, but it's going to be, and that's the picture. Okay? So that right there, that's a big deal, because if you're going to try and hand hold, it's going to be shaky. Okay? And so you say, oh, well, now I'm going to go buy a tripod. I don't want to do that. That's a pain in the butt. I think I'll just use my iPhone, right? Well, I'm going to show you a trick. Okay?
Because you're right.
All right, so do we all get that? F8, ISO 100, and the camera decides what shutter speed. So we don't have to worry about shutter speed. The only thing we're going to mess with is the dial to change the exposure up and down. Like I said, we want 1 tick past 0 to overexpose it a little bit, okay? All right, next. If you absolutely had to use an iPhone, which you shouldn't, you can still change it on, you tap the focus and you go up or down. Like I said, we don't want you using an iPhone, but if you just absolutely had to, that's how you would do it, okay? Now, this is cool. In the past 4 years, about 4 years ago, all the camera gurus, techies got together and they created something called HDR photography, okay? What that stands for is high dynamic range. And I'm going to explain what that is and how that can benefit you and sell more houses. Okay? High dynamic range is an image that has really bright spots and really dark spots. And generally, as a real estate agent, when you photograph a house, there are windows. Those windows are open. You're going to see outside. The sun is going to come through those windows. It's going to be very bright. And then you've got the inside of the room that generally is very dark. Okay? So we have a problem because our eyes are amazing. They can see like 24 stops of light. Tons of light can come in your eye and your eye can take it all in. A camera has got about this much. It's about 12 stops of light. So my camera is not as good as my eyeballs. One of these days it'll get there, but it's not. So how it works is the camera is going to take 3 to 7 images all at one time. So like if I did an HDR photography, it would go, right? It would take 3 photos and then it's going to merge those 3 photos so that it looks like this. And it puts them all together in one photo. So here's examples of an HDR image. Okay? So when you look at this image, you can see how there's tons of light coming in from everywhere. The room is properly exposed. It looks great. Outside looks great. Who wouldn't want to go stay in this place? Right? And the whole reason why is because of HDR. It took the outside that was bright. It took the inside that was dark. It took 3 photos and made 1 photo. So all of the newer cameras that are 4 years old, they all do this. Okay? But there's a problem. If you're going to try and hand hold, and it's going to take 3 photos, do you think all 3 of those images are going to line up? No. It's going to be blurry. So, again, you got to use a tripod of some kind. And like I said, I don't recommend using a tripod. I'll show you what these are in a moment. So here's another example of an HDR image. Okay? Lots of sun coming in from the ocean. You get this room. If I took one picture, I would have to choose. Do I want to expose for the ocean, or do I want to expose for the room? I have to choose. With HDR, I don't have to choose. The camera takes 3 pictures, makes 1 picture, and it looks amazing. Okay? So if I was you, I would seriously consider using HDR photography for all real estate, because it just looks so good. Okay? All right. I don't want to get too technical, but we do need to talk about this. There are real estate agents that want the absolute very, very best in their photos, and they are willing to take the extra steps. Okay? Here it is right here. RAW versus JPEG. Okay? A JPEG is everything that's on the internet. It's an image that's been compressed down teeny, so that it can be going over Wi-Fi or loaded on a web page super fast, right? So these images have been just crunched down to the smallest nth degree. Well, a RAW file on a nice expensive camera like something like this, all nice cameras have the advantage of shooting RAW. What is that? That is every single pixel on that camera sensor is being recorded. Okay? So it's uncompressed. Totally uncompressed. Now what are the advantages of doing that? Well, you're going to get better detail. It's going to look lifelike. When you see the image, you're going to be like, whoa, I can touch it. Right? You're going to get better color because you can change it afterwards in the software and it doesn't mess up the photo. It also has more dynamic range. It can see brighter. It can see darker. Okay? So that's the advantages of shooting RAW. Now, there are some disadvantages. Number 1, the files are big. So if I take a picture with JPEG on this camera, it's going to be about 6 megabytes. Now you may not know what that means, but that's pretty small. I mean it's an average size picture, okay? But if I took that same photo in RAW, it would be 36 megabytes, or 4.5 times bigger, right? So you're also going to need kind of a newer computer to work with the RAW files, because that's a lot of pixels that you gotta mess with. So you kind of need a nice, you don't have to go like crazy and get, a $3,000 computer. Just something within this decade would be nice. Okay? There you go. And some of you may have older camera computers.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
So on mine it has like fine, normal.
Yeah, oh yeah, so you want to use fine. You want to use the fine as best quality as you can get. The biggest size you can get.
And then it has small, medium, large.
Large.
Any size.
Large and fine. You want to use the maximum amount of information that you can. And then the other thing that kind of stinks about RAW is that it has to be processed. You can't upload a RAW image to the internet. Nobody will be able to see it. So it has to be processed in a program and then exported. Okay? So that's kind of the stinky parts about RAW. But you're going to get the best images. So there you go. All right, here's some must-have items that you, in my opinion, if you're a real estate photographer and you don't have this, then you're really doing yourself a disservice. Now, like I said, we don't want to use an iPhone, but if you just absolutely have to, you got to have one of these. Okay, this was $3 from Amazon. In fact, I would buy one of these and just have it as a backup. Like, oh my gosh, I have to have this now, and I don't have any way to take photos. I would just buy this because this one right here, you can write this down. It's called the Joby Grip Tight Gorilla Pod. And this one's $20. This is the real version. This is the Chinese knockoff $3 version. It's broke like 6 times and I've repaired it. It's a piece of junk. But I'm going to take Russell's phone here really quick. All you would do is you take it, you set it on this little clamp, and now you've got a way to take better quality photos. But like I said, we don't want you to use an iPhone, but as a backup, it would work. Okay? So what you really need is this guy here. And I'll pass this around. This is the DSLR version. Now, you guys can kind of pass that around. What this is going to do is it's going to allow you to take pictures that are stabilized and get really, really high quality photos. And it can be manipulated and bent. So like for instance, let's say I wanted to get a picture of this room. Watch this. Okay, so maybe I step on a chair or something, I get the camera exactly the way I want it, right? I take a picture, now I've got the entire room. You could get a really good photo that way. Or, yeah, absolutely. So you just set it on a tabletop, you got a picture. Or, even better yet, if there's no furniture in the room, you can take it down low. Or you could do this. You want to get really low? Look at there. You're going to get a really good photo. You can manipulate it however you want it. Or let's say all you have is a post. You can just stick it on like that. There you go. Now you got a picture, right? Now, they make several versions of this. This one here is this one here is called the Joby Gorilla Pod Focus. Now, this is the most expensive one. This one's $100, so it's an investment, but it's going to give you really great photos. Okay? They make a cheaper version of this. If you just get on Amazon and you just look up Gorilla Pod, they make one that's about $30. Okay? So there's the iPhone version, which I would have just as a backup, the $20 version. I would highly recommend this one, and you guys can pass that around and mess with it. It's fun to play with.
You use that on the pictures in the show.
Yeah, so here in a moment I'm going to show you some pictures I took of a property that Kelly was selling.
This will work on the Olympus campus?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Yes. Gorilla Pod Focus.
So then you just straighten them when you edit them?
No. That's the cool thing is it's so flexible that you look on the back of the camera and you get it straight, okay, and then you take the picture. And so that's the cool part is you manipulate the top of it. Okay, now why would I use this over a traditional tripod? Well, number one, a traditional tripod cannot go low. You can't take the legs and widen them out like that. Okay? Number two, you can't put a tripod on a shelf or on a door or anywhere up high unless you want to hold the tripod. That's stupid, right? Because then you're going to get a shaky picture. So tripods just don't work for real estate. In a small room, you're going to be back in the corner, as tight as you can be, and you think you got room for a tripod that's got legs out like that? No. It's too slow. But every single photo must be sharp and must be bulky. Or, I'm sorry, bulky. Shake-free. Must be shake-free, okay? You cannot have shake in your camera, okay? All right, so say no to tripods. They don't work. Okay, let's talk about composing a picture, composition. My favorite thing to do with real estate is using the up-high shot. Now, if I was to take a picture of a box, just like maybe a parcel post, okay, if I was going to be inside that box, there's only two places that I could be to get the entire photo. In the corner up high, or in the corner down below, to show the entire inside of the box, okay? So when you're taking a picture of a room, here's a picture that this is one of Kelly's listings. This is the kitchen, and all I did was I stood on a little I don't know, like a breakfast seating area, I guess what that was. Yeah. And I took my camera and I found a little shelf and I put it on there and I took a photo coming down, and it really shows the entire room, okay? And I used that big wide lens to really make it look like I was there, okay? Another thing you can do is I set the camera on top of the refrigerator, right? And so I'm shooting down, and it really shows the wideness of the kitchen, okay? This time I used the door frame. I had it on the door frame, and I just held it with that Gorilla Pod, and I took a picture, click, and it was done. And then kind of shows the up high angle, okay? All right, so if there is no furniture in the house, you can use down low photos, which I like to use. So here's a couple images. This is an exterior shot. So I basically just set it on the steps, and I angled it up, and I took a picture, and put it on the computer, and made it look nice. And here's another photo. Let's see. So here's the master bedroom. Okay, so I went to the very, very corner. I set it on the floor. I pointed it up so that I could see the entire room, and you can see the blades on the ceiling fan, how they're blurry. It's because that was a 2-second exposure. Whereas I hit the shutter, click, click, right? So that was a long exposure, but you can see how it's really letting in the whole light of the room. No flash. Don't ever use flash, okay? Here's an image from the backyard. It's going to set it in the grass, angle it up, and now it's going to show me how beautiful the backyard is. Okay, the exterior of the home. Okay?
That's pretty cool.
Isn't that neat? Yeah, I like it. So, let's talk about exterior shots for a moment. If you can, and I know we don't always have this is not always available to us, but if you can do early morning or late afternoon, it's usually best because the sun is lower and it's lighting the house from the side instead of straight down. Okay, so if you can, shoot during that time. This was shot at 2 o'clock. What I did was I went over, I kind of snuck across the street, I got as far away from the house as I could, and I zoomed in as far as I could zoom in, and I took this photo, and it really shows off, it kind of compresses the photo, it kind of brings everything in, and makes it look nice and pretty. Okay? So that's the exact opposite of wide. This is telephoto. Okay? Alright, try some different angles. You can see the Kelly signs out front. Okay? But the reason why it looks so sharp and crisp is because I'm shooting at f8. f8. You gotta shoot at f8 to get that sharp crisp. Now, I was talking with Russell, and he was like, hey, one of my favorite things to do is get a picture of the mailbox with the house. I said, okay, well, let's do that. So don't be afraid to every once in a while throw in a vertical shot. Okay? But in general, almost everything needs to be horizontal. Okay? So very rarely you want to shoot up and down. If it's like a detail shot, maybe you're shooting like for instance, let's look at some details. Let's say you're shooting that right there. Okay? You could do a vertical shot of that because you're not showing the whole room. Maybe you're just showing some details. So you see what I did? And this, actually, Russell took this photo. So I just set it on there, and with that wide angle lens, it just really shows off the details. Okay?
Cameron, what about narrow bathrooms? Those are always difficult ones to take, with like a hall bath, which is the long, skinny.
So that shot that I did earlier, did you? Because that was kind of a narrow bathroom, and what I did was I stuck it on the side of the thing, and I just let it take the exposure. With a wide-angle lens, it just really makes that wide look a lot bigger. So that's what I would do, is just use that wide. All right, let's look at a couple more details. So in the backyard, they had a chimenea off the master bedroom. So I just took a picture through the window to show them, look, I'm in the house, I look out my back window, and I see this beautiful piece of concrete work. Okay? Or there were these really cool louvers. And here's a hallway shot. This is a narrow hallway coming from the master bedroom to the guest bedrooms. Okay? So I'm showing the detail from those louvers. And like I said, I just stuck it on the side of the wall with that Gorilla Pod, and then held it, took a picture, and I was done. Okay?
Are you physically doing the?
Yeah.
when
So
it's-
here's the
not
thing.
gonna make it move.
Well, here's the thing. Where's that Gorilla Pod? Let me show you. This thing is so strong that wherever I put it, let's say for instance, I was going to do this right here. It's so strong. If I put that on there and I hold it down, and I take that photo, if I just hold it, I can take the picture, and then it's good. Okay? It's so strong that it's going to hold on. Now, would I just let it go? No. I would just hold it with my hand. So I just got to run that. I hold it and I take it, and this keeps it still.
Cameron, when you have it in that mode, it's almost like because of where your attachment is in your phone.
Yes.
It's like on your camera, it's almost like your camera's going to be straight up and down.
Right.
Not
So
nose
on top of this, they make something called a what's it called? A head. It's called a head. So this right here, you could do this, or you can use a little tripod head, a little teeny one. And for instance, like if I didn't have one and I had to make it work, you could do this. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to hold it. Right? So I'm going to take that photo, make sure that it's nice and level. Take the photo, and then we'll let go. Okay? So if you had a tripod, a little head, a mini ball head, that would make it even easier.
Then it can make it spin back up.
It would spin, yeah.
How do you make sure your lines are straight up and down? Or
You just
straight across?
look at the back of the camera.
So you're gonna have a chair or something.
Yeah, you would need a chair to look up there, and as you're composing the image, or his has a flip out screen. So on his, I could just hold it there, look at the flip out screen, and then take the photo, right? Because I'm just looking at the screen. So that's another really cool thing about his camera.
Then there was, when we went to this house, there was a couple of things that kind of were apparent. And I know when we get a listing, we're so excited, we go around with the camera, we rush out, and it just came to me, maybe other people do it, but to go back when they're not there, it'd be a good idea, because you're going to do this, and you may drop it, you may be all over the place, maybe put it on the floor, but actually them not being there makes it so much easier for you to get creative. And what made me think that you said, if you weren't here to me, you said I'll be much more creative.
That's right, yeah, because I
I was
texted
just
him.
chatting to him. And
We were talking, and I was like, you know what? Can I go back to the house and do it again? Because you were there, and I was kind of rushed. I'd really like to take my time and do some good work. And he's like, sure, I'm going on vacation, but yeah.
So I think if they're not there, I think it's better for you guys. You don't feel embarrassed or whatever you're doing, and just. Do they need to bring a ladder, or do they need to bring something to stand?
Yeah, if you have like a little tiny stepping stool, that would really help, because then you can really get high and get some really great shots.
And don't forget, when you're taking these pictures, you haven't got to process them anymore. It don't cost anything to take 1,000 pictures.
Exactly.
So you can, get it right. You can take 20.
Yep.
And just make sure, keep changing it and go back and see which one was the.
It doesn't
right
cost
one.
you any money to process those.
One of the things that this is going to make even more important is that your composition, that you've got it cleaned up. So you don't have a toothbrush sitting on the countertop, or you don't have things that you don't want people
The
to
toilet
see.
seat.
Yes, because they're going to see you even more now, because it's a better picture.
Absolutely. So like on exterior shots, garden hoses. I know that can be a big distraction too. If you see this garden hose just like laying out in the middle of it, if you can tidy that up and make it look better for the photo, any kind of that special details, it's just going to make your images look that much better. Like he said, the toothbrush or the toilet seat, you got to put that thing down. You can't let all that stuff. It just doesn't look professional. But if you know what? But if a potential buyer does see that you're using a big camera, man, that's going to really show. Oh, wow, look at that. They've got a nice camera. They're going to take. Maybe you get a listing where you wouldn't have. So let me kind of get back here for a second. All right, I want you to watch out for reflections. This kind of goes back to what he was saying, the little details. So, can you find the agent in this photo? Right. Right. So, now I did that on purpose because I wanted you guys to. No, that was nice. So, yeah, make sure you're not in the photo. All right, now let's talk about post-process. Now, if you take a JPEG, the small compressed version, you don't have to post-process them. You can upload them straight from your camera. But you're going to get better photos, I guarantee you, if you post-process your images. Now, if you shoot raw, you have to. You don't have a choice. But there's a program that I use and love. It's called Lightroom. And it's for professional photographers, and it's really not hard to use at all. And I would say in 5 to 10 minutes of a YouTube watching a tutorial on how to use the program, you could learn everything you needed to know for real estate by watching one video. Okay? It's not like Photoshop. Photoshop, is awesome and it's great, but man, is it hard to use. If anybody's ever tried to use Photoshop, it takes a lot of work. Okay? So Lightroom, it costs $10 a month, and they bundle it with Photoshop. Now, if there's one thing you do need to know on Photoshop, it's how to fix the straight lines. Okay, and I can show you how to do that in a moment if you would like. But it's $10 a month, and so I can even give you a tour of how this program works. Would you guys like me to show you how the program works? Okay. All right, and stop me if this is not beneficial. All right, so I'm going to open up Lightroom really quick. I have, so I took a picture of, let's see what it was. Oh yeah, it was the bathroom. So I took a picture and I said, you know what, that's too dark. So I took another picture and I lightened it up a little bit and I was like, you know what, that's still not bright enough. So I took a final picture and I said, okay, I can deal with that because I had enough sun coming in. I didn't do HDR photography on this one. I could have, but I didn't. So I had sun coming in from there. So here on this interface, the middle is where you're going to see your photo. This part right here up at the very top, it says library, develop, and then a bunch of other words that you don't even know about. Okay? The only two that you're really going to mess with is library, that shows you your photos, and the develop module that you're actually going to change the photos. Oh, it's not showing it. 1 second. Thank you for, here, let me pull this up. Let's see here, how do I do that? Blue, full screen, your with menu bar. No, that's not it. Let's see here, full screen preview. No.
Can you drag it across?
Oh, that's what I can do. Yeah, good job, buddy. Let's see here, hold on, let me go up here. We hit escape. Oh, I'm sorry, I got a technical. Let's just not gonna show it. Before and after, main screen, normal screen mode. Oh, here we go. What if I do this? Oops, to the right. Aha! There we go. It had it, and then it took me. Let's see here. Oh, I know what. I'll hit this button right here. Desktop 2. It just went up. Okay, well, I'll show it to you right here. Okay, so over here on the left-hand side, this is the. So let me show you this right here. This is where you see your image on the screen. This is where the images that you've taken. And then up here, there's a library that shows all the images. And then there's the develop module where you actually develop the image over here with the little sliders. Okay? Now on this, I'm going to show you what you can do. And it's not going to show you what I want you to see. But oh, I see. What if I did? No. All right. Well, darn. Oh well. But like I said, you can really see a lot of detail on these images. Okay, so I can give you a one-on-one personal session on how to use Lightroom. There you go.
Well, maybe, I don't know about Stuart, but maybe that's something we can do as a group.
Yeah.
Another time.
Yeah. There's one last thing. Let me go back to the presentation just for a moment. There's something I do want to share with you. An option that you have, and that is this. All right. For really expensive homes, let's say homes that are from $200,000 to say on up. It would be great for you to be able to say, if you'll let me list your house, I will hire a professional photographer. And I'm not trying to sell myself. There are many photographers in Waco that do a good job, but you can expect to pay about $250 to $300 for a really, really nice home. But what you're going to get are great images that are going to sell that house and make you money. If you don't get the listing, you don't have to pay the photographer. So it's just one of those options that you may have, that you definitely have. For really big ticket items, let's say you have a home that's $400,000 up to $1 million or even above, photos just aren't going to do it. When you're going to sell that expensive, really, really expensive home, you need to do video. I'm going to show you just a real quick YouTube, and it's expensive, but man, it makes a huge difference. Check this out. Let's see here. There it is, right there. Okay. And I don't know how much this house calls for, but this just shows you the power of video and selling a house. See the composition? See how they've got this in the front? It really brings you in. They've got details going like the fireplace, or maybe they have the water faucet running. Shows the ceilings. And they've got, good music, upbeat music in the background to keep the person interested as they're watching the video. Now, is this something that you can do? No. This is a multi-man crew with probably $20,000 worth of equipment, with stabilizers and jibs and cranes and it's very, very controversial, but drones. People are using drones in these kind of videos, which is kind of a hot button topic. Okay, I'll go ahead and stop that. You guys get the idea. But if you're going to sell a really expensive house, you need photos and you need video as well. Okay, you just have to. If you're gonna get that listing, they're not gonna list with you unless you have something kind of like that, the really good video. Okay. What I want to do now is I want to just kind of transition, and I want to find out from you guys what are some things that I could help you out with. What are some things that we either didn't cover or you would like to cover in more depth? Does anybody have anything that they, how can I help you in your photography?
When you get ready to process a picture, because you're getting it from the huge raw mode.
Big raw.
So how small do you want to take it? To keep it as crisp as you can and be able to put it on the internet or
right.
other things.
So in Lightroom, there's under the library section, down at the bottom corner, there's a button that says export, and it gives you this big list. Okay, what do you want to call the name? Like, so you put it on. I want all the images to start with this, and I want them numbered 1 through 25 or whatever. And then this is the dimensions of the photo. I want to scale them down to 1,000 pixels, right?
And you can batch those?
And you can batch it, right. So you just click export, and it takes, let's say you took 50 photos of this house, and you want it just to batch, do them all at once. You just click export, you come back in about 3 minutes, and they're all done. So you don't have to go in and do every single one of those photos, which is awesome. Yeah, it saves you tons of time. You can put your watermark. So let's say you created a little watermark that has your name with Kelly Realtors. It can put it in the bottom right-hand corner of all the images, and you don't have to manually do that yourself. Right? Just automatically batch does it. Okay? Yeah?
Images that are viewed digitally versus printed. How do we need to treat it digitally? I mean, you know, like if you're looking at something that emits light, like on a computer or a phone, versus if you're just having something printed on paper.
So if you're, if you're going to advertise, is that what you're saying? Okay, so if you're going to advertise, let's say you're going to print up a flyer. What you're going to do is you're going to use the maximum settings possible, the biggest you can possibly get. When you go to export it, that's what you're going to use. But if it's going on the internet, I would say 1,000 pixels is plenty. Okay.
And just in general, I mean,
Just in
a
general.
different file type or anything.
Yeah, you're going to go JPEG, the biggest resolution you can get from Lightroom. So export, you would say resize, no. You would uncheck resize, so it kept the full resolution photo. And that's what you use for a flyer. Okay? What are the problems that you run into when you photograph a home? What are the biggest things that trip you up?
The light and the ceiling fan.
The lighting, the ceiling fan. Okay? So you're talking about all the light coming in from the windows. So here's what's happening. The camera wants to expose everything in the middle where that 0 is. And so it's got all that light coming in from the windows, and the inside of the room is all dark. And so the only way to trick the camera is to go overexposed, but then the windows are like super white, and the house looks terrible. That's when the HDR photography comes in. That's when the camera takes 3 pictures, puts them all together, and now you've got a beautiful photo. So I highly recommend that you look into that HDR photography, because that's going to save you tons of time. Yes?
I had a total colored room.
Uh-huh.
No matter where I stood, what lighting I used, it looked pink.
Yeah, exactly. So, so that's it's called white balance, right? And on the camera, you can set the white balance, but here's the thing. If you shoot raw, you don't have to worry about white balance, because after the fact, you can come in and you can take a little, it's called a color picker, and you can find something in the room that's white, or kind of like a whitish color. You tap on it, and now it's perfectly colored. Perfect. And it's after the fact. You don't have to worry about it in the room. You say, oh, I took that picture, now everything's pink. Gah! Well, if you shoot raw, you don't have to worry about it. You can just use that color picker, click on something that's white in the room, and then everything looks immediately perfect.
Because you're basically telling the Lightroom that this is white.
This is white.
So it just sets white.
It sees it and it says, well, no, it's not white. It's green with a little bit of purple hint.
So then
to
it makes
it.
that white. And
It makes that white and changes everything white. It makes everything perfectly in color. Yeah. Yeah.
The camera that you were suggesting to us, can that be used in HDR?
Yes. So the Olympus does. And here's the thing about HDR. There's like older cameras, you have to do it manually. So you have to open up a piece of software, you have to import the 3 pictures, you have to tell it HDR, and then it does it. The newer cameras, they do HDR in camera, which is awesome because you just set it to HDR, you click picture, chick, 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 and then the image that comes on the back of the camera is already processed. You don't have to process it, which saves you tons of time, because then you just upload that photo straight to the internet. Or if it's raw, you can upload the raw, or you can mess with it in raw in Lightroom as well. Okay.
If you want to see the difference, your iPhone does HDR.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
if you want to take a picture, I'm not saying use your iPhone for real estate at all, but if you want to see what HDR is different to the normal one, just take a picture, it'll be on the top, just flick it over to HDR.
Yeah, there's on iPhones it has an auto, on, and off. So if you want to use it, obviously you're going to put it to on. Otherwise, it's just going to... Because like sometimes if you take a picture of your kids and it says HDR is on or it's on auto, and then your kid looks all funny and like half his face is like ripped off or whatever. Yeah, so make sure that HDR is on if you're going to try it out.
It flashes off.
Never use flash. Never use flash. And you would have to have something like this, which is $3 from Amazon. So put your phone in there, set it, take an HDR photo. So, what are some other problems that you guys run into with photography?
Open houses.
Ugly houses. Yeah. So
Hey, this is on YouTube, by the way.
Just don't admit that.
Not very nice houses.
It's something nice.
Where do you find HDR
So you
on
want
these
beer
things?
goggles for your
beer goggles for camera.
On your
Where,
phone.
where would you find HDR?
So if you're on the video, you're gonna go to photo, HDR, and then on. Yeah.
Just use it, it's amazing.
So do or don't do it.
Okay. What else?
When you export them in a batch and you resize them as they go,
You can choose, if you click the resize button, it's going to ask you how big, and you say 1,000 pixels. But if you uncheck it, they're going to be big files. So they're going to be like 10 megabytes a piece.
but it still saves everything in your original.
Oh yeah.
You just have another file.
And you know what, the really cool thing about Lightroom is it's non-destructive. And what that means is when you export those images, you still have the full resolution images on your computer. It didn't change anything. It's non-destructive. Okay? So that's really cool about Lightroom as well.
Now, in MLS, you have to make them pretty small.
You have to make them small. Yeah.
It's 1,000 small enough for MLS.
Yeah, I don't think.
I think it's 760.
Because you don't want to do it twice.
About 640 for a line.
What is it?
We can find out what that is.
Yeah, and what you would do is you would want to type in exactly what MLS wants you to use.
I've done 1,050 in MLS and it takes,
Alright,
yeah, 1,050 by 7.
It didn't use to.
Right.
I know it'll take that,
Cool.
so.
Cool. And you can tell it on the longest edge, on the shortest edge, from corner to corner. Like, you can tell the program, when you're talking about the pixels, what are you talking about? This side, so you can choose, okay? All right, other problems that you run into with photography. What trips you up?
Furniture.
Yes, okay, so earlier, when I was talking about taking pictures down low, that's only for a room without furniture. If you have furniture, you want to be up high, or you want to take and, like, for instance, if you've got this, you've got a really great shot of the room, but you've got this edge of this corner, you know, in the picture, all you have to do is just slightly move this, 3 inches, you take the photo. Now you've got an amazing photo, where before you had a big problem and it took you 3 seconds to go, ugh. Okay, now I got a photo. Perfect, great, let's put it back.
A lot of times it's like a sofa.
Yeah, sofa.
That's
I
right
mean,
across the
you're
room
in-
and you can't,
You know,
yeah, you can't,
and
yeah, it's
then you're
hard.
gonna take your photo, and then you're gonna, yeah. So it's a little bit of a pain, but it makes a big
Well, that high
difference.
photo you took, that really
You don't have to worry about it.
just a little step and up in the corner.
Yep.
That was amazing.
Up in the corner, and it's just beautiful. I don't know if Photoshop will let me do this, but there's one thing that I did want to show you.
Cameron, before you move that, I'm absolutely shocked that in this high-dollar video, I'm looking at all those products in the shower. I'm seeing the toothpaste, the toothbrush, the hairbrush, the soap dispenser.
Yep.
Why would you not move that?
You would, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
you would tell the homeowner, look, on this date, we're
Yeah.
coming to take a video. We need all this stuff taken care of. The main reason why I showed this video is because I wanted to show you how smooth it was,
Okay.
how the color was good, the composition was good. But so that's what you need to be taken away from this is,
Okay.
man, you know,
That's really not good.
it's not good when you see all that stuff in there.
Yeah.
But as far as like the camera movements, what?
I think it's Canadian.
Let me show you something that kind of runs into a problem, and this is a good fix for it. Let's see if it's going to cooperate. Let's do this. Okay. Oh, there we go. All right, I'm going to hit green. I'm going to show you something you can do now. A lot of you, probably don't use Photoshop, but this is what I would use. I'm going to open up Lightroom really quick, and I'm going to show you a before and an after on what happens when you take a really super wide angle lens. So look at this image. I'm going to right click. I'm going to go down here if I can do it. It'll let me do it. Grid loop, locked. Okay, so in Photoshop, what you can do is you can take all the edges that are bowed when you take a wide angle lens, and you can use something called a skew. And you can actually take the corners of the image and you can drag them to the right, and it takes this image and it makes it square so that you get perfect lines in your image, which is, like I said, really, really important. So Photoshop is good for that one thing for real estate is skew. Get everything so it's perfectly lined up. Okay?
There was one that you took at the bathroom and you took from the floor.
Exactly.
The door jamb was
Door jams are like this.
in the center.
You put it in Photoshop and you can skew it and it fixes it and it makes it look like your eye sees. Okay? Anything else? What else can I do to help you guys out?
Cameron, several of us want to buy that. This little-
The Gorilla Pod?
Yeah. Is there a discount of like 8 or 10 of us buying it once or?
Probably not. Amazon, they have like the cheapest prices of anywhere on the internet, and to get a cheaper price is probably not going to happen. Now, if you do go with a slightly smaller version, the not so expensive one, it's about $30, and it would be good enough for this. This lens, this is really heavy. I have to have the heaviest one, but you could get away with a $30 version. So.
Maybe the office could, or several could go together and just kind of check them out when you're going to go take pictures.
Yeah.
They had like 2 or 3.
Buy a couple of them and just check them out.
Stuart would do that, right?
We've done that in the past, and that was a nightmare. Yeah, so it's more than a nightmare.
Not a good idea.
We've gone through like 3 or 4 cameras.
Yeah, we,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when I upload my pictures, I think it comes under Microsoft Picture, whatever.
Okay, picture editor.
And yeah, and that's the first thing I do. I go in is enhance the colors.
Yeah.
And that makes a huge difference.
It does.
And the
There's another
sharpness-
thing that you can do, and I'm not sure if that Microsoft has it, but there's a slider on a lot of programs. It's called clarity. Everybody write this down. When you're processing your image, if you have the option, use the slider for clarity. Okay? Now what that's going to do is that's going to bring in what's called micro contrast, and it's going to make your image look way more detailed. Okay? Now, you can go crazy with it, and I see real estate, I see some listings, and they've taken that slider and they went way too far with it, and it looks like it's from like the middle century, like the Middle Earth. It looks terrible. So you can definitely overdo it, but I would go halfway, and man, it makes the image look so much better.
But don't you
Clarity.
think that we need, just as a habit, to go in and maybe do a little color
Yeah.
enhancement or
absolutely.
whatever makes the green really pop because it just does.
Especially the sky. If you're doing exterior, you want to get that blue sky. When people look at it, they're like, "Oh, look how awesome that house is! It's a beautiful day. Look at the blue." Bring over that color slider. It's called Vibrance. On Lightroom, it's called Vibrance, and it really adds a lot.
And I understand that if you buy this camera that you told us, we can't take a picture like this ever. We
You
don't sell it.
can. You can. Let's say you wanted to take a picture for your family.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're outside or if you're inside, you can definitely take a picture of your family. But if you're going to do real estate, I would suggest you not.
Is there a
Handhold.
different setting for personal use than?
Well, see, that's the thing. This lens is really good at one thing: real estate photography. Okay, so now it did say 9 to 18, so you could zoom it in, and you could go to the 18 millimeters, which would give you about a 35 millimeter equivalent, and you could use that for a lot of things. Okay, it wouldn't be super telephoto. You wouldn't be able to like go to your daughter's dance recital and like close up on her. You wouldn't be able to do that at all. But like I said, this lens is great for
That's just the lens, not the camera.
not the camera, just the
You
lens.
can use the camera. I
Yeah.
still want to spend
You can
$1,100 and
use-
not be able
Well-
to use it for
Well, the
family.
camera's 600, the lens is 500.
Okay.
So if you wanted to spend another 500 on a different lens, you could do that.
Does
So-
that- does
So
that-
with this camera, when you buy just the camera, does it come with a lens?
No, you're buying just the body
camera.
for $600.
Oh,
You're buying just the camera. It doesn't come with a kit lens. So that's why you buy it separately. That way you get what you want. So if you buy it in a kit, you're getting a lens that you wouldn't necessarily want. You know what I'm saying? It's not a really good lens for anything. It's just kind of a mediocre. So this way you buy it separately. You buy that body and then you buy that lens and you put them together, and now you've got a dynamite camera for one thing, essentially real estate photography.
Well, if you buy the second, the
But if you-
smaller lens, you can use it for anything.
You can use it for
Kids,
Yeah.
whatever. But the
I don't want
lens,
a camera, I just always have to have that thing.
Yeah, no, you can definitely use the camera like a regular camera, but for real estate reasons I wouldn't do it. I would have it on a tripod always. Okay. So I know it's a lot to think about, I've given you a lot of information. Anything else that you'd like for me to cover before I?
I would like to say one thing.
Yeah.
And it's just because I think differently. When we're enhancing or when we're doing things to these pictures, we've got to be super careful to make sure that we're making it what it really
Realistic.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
can't make it just where it is. There's so many times I've looked at really, it's not from Waco even, it's just, you can tell they've had either a professional go in there and the house looks almost fake. I mean, it looks unreal.
Totally.
And I've actually sat in classes where people are getting complaints because the buyers will show up and go, that's not.
That doesn't look anything like what I saw on the internet.
What we saw, you know,
Exactly.
so I guess my words of wisdom is just be real careful that you're not misrepresenting what the house actually is.
Absolutely. You can go crazy.
I
You gotta
don't
get pretty deep into one of these processing programs to do that.
I was
If
gonna
you
say, I don't
do
think
that,
we're
you
good
have no
enough
worries.
to make anything like that.
You have no worries if you don't get in deep into Photoshop.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you on the sliders, because almost every program uses the same system. It's, you know, it works on highlights. When you move the slider to the left or the right, you just have to be careful you don't go too far where the image looks fake. So that's basically what's misleading. Okay? Or if you're like, oh, the green grass. Look at this grass, it's so green, and you pull the slider all the way to the right, and it looks like it's a cartoon, and then they show up and it's all yellow and brown, and it's like, what? So, yeah, you gotta be careful. Definitely. All right, anything else you want to talk about? Okay, well, I'm going to stick around for 20, 30 minutes, and if you want to bring your camera and say, okay, how do I do this on my camera? Or can you show me on your laptop what you did there? Absolutely. Or if you just need an explanation, a better explanation, okay, I would love to do that. And remember, you can text, call, email,
Can we take
any
a
one of those
picture of that
things.
little guy?
So what?
May we take a picture of your little gorilla guy?
Absolutely, yeah. Come on up.
Okay.
Are you gonna be downstairs after this?
I can stay right here. Yeah. And just feel free to stick around. So you guys are free to go. Thank you so much for coming.
Stuff we want to communicate.